The National News Desk, locally covered, nationally connected.
As conflict in the Middle East shows no signs of slowing down, American officials warn of terrorists slipping through the southern border. A look at possible Iranian sleeper cells in the U.S. Then, the insurance company that's become the industry's latest cyber attack victim, and the personal data that may be in the hands of hackers. And later, what Americans seem to think of Health Secretary RFK Jr.'s agenda and how it's different from what they think of him. This is the National News Desk, America's News Now. Thank you for joining us on your Friday. I'm Didi Gatton, and we begin with the back and forth strikes continuing in the Middle East as the conflict between Israel and Iran has now been going on for more than a week. The IDF chief of staff says Israel has destroyed half of Iran's missile launchers. Today, President Trump stressed that his decision on whether to strike Iran could come anytime within his recently announced 2-week time frame. And Iranian officials said Iran would engage in diplomacy if Trump told Israel to stop its attacks. Here's how the president responded.
Well, I think it's very hard to make that request right now. If somebody's winning, it's a little bit harder to do than if somebody's losing. But we're ready, willing, and able, and we've been speaking to Iran, and we'll see what happens.
President Trump also said today that his director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, is wrong to say there's no evidence Iran is building a nuclear weapon. Meanwhile, the first classified full Senate briefing on Israel and Iran is set for Tuesday. This all comes as law enforcement is reportedly stepping up surveillance of Iran-backed operatives in the U.S. to monitor possible domestic sleeper cells. Some officials have warned that suspected terrorists may have entered the country through open borders, and in the past, Iran has even threatened to assassinate U.S. public officials. National correspondent Janae Bowens takes a closer look at these rising concerns.
There's fear about potential threats tied to Iran, not overseas, but right here at home.
With the way that our border was down for 4 years, there could be cells here that could be activated by Iran or proxies and groups that are loyal to Iran.
White House border czar Tom Homan warning of a potential 9/11 style attack.
It's coming. It should have scared the hell out of every American what the Biden administration did. This 2 million known gotaways scares the hell out of me. So I'm convinced something's coming unless we can find them.
CBS News reports that as President Trump weighs potential U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear sites, the FBI has ramped up surveillance of possible Hezbollah-linked sleeper cells inside the U.S. as tensions escalate following Israel's military strikes. Concerns about sleeper cells resurfaced in 2020 after a drone strike ordered by Trump killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. Iran vowed revenge, and in November, the Justice Department said it thwarted a plot to assassinate Trump.
If they did that, they would be obliterated. That'd be the end. I've left instructions. If they do it, they get obliterated. There won't be anything left.
No new sleeper cell plots have been made public. However, officials say the threat is still real. And the New York Post reports Iran's supreme leader may try to activate sleeper cells in the West.
The problem with saying, well, how good are these cells is that, well, if they're a really good sleeper cell, you don't know about them until they do something.
We need to be prepared. Israel needs to be prepared for those types of attacks. And the number one way to do that is for the citizenry to be aware. And that's what's going to prevent the majority of this.
And Didi, back in 2019, a Hezbollah operative living in the U.S. was sentenced to 40 years for plotting attacks in New York. Now, officials warn the government must stay vigilant against what could come next.
And Janae, speak to us about the other U.S. officials that we're told have been targeted by Iran.
So in recent years, prosecutors have charged individuals with plotting to assassinate former National Security Advisor John Bolton. Iran is also believed to have targeted former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and other former Trump administration officials. And that's all in retaliation for the 2020 killing of General Qasem Soleimani. Didi.
Janae Bowens reporting live from Washington, D.C. Thank you.
Feed the people, not the war.
Feed the people, not the war.
Some Americans are voicing opposition to U.S. involvement in the war in the Middle East. Last night, over 100 people gathered in Austin, Texas to demand the U.S. stay out of the escalating conflict and end military support in the region. The White House maintains its support for Israel is about national and global security. A federal judge is ordering Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil to be released from Immigration and Customs Enforcement custody. The judge in New Jersey says the Columbia University graduate student should get out on bail. Khalil was arrested during the Trump administration's crackdown on students who participated in anti-Israel campus protests. He disputes the accusation that he lied on his green card. International students can still attend Harvard after a federal judge today blocked the Trump administration's efforts to stop this from happening. The order will be in effect until the case is decided. President Trump has been at odds with the university since it refused to comply with the government's demands aimed at preventing campus anti-Semitism. And a federal appeals court says the president can keep control of California's National Guard for now, after he deployed troops to deal with protests against immigration enforcement. The National News Desk, Matt Gelka, has the details from Washington.
A unanimous ruling from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals allowed President Trump to maintain control of California's National Guard for immigration protests. Trump federalized 4,000 National Guardsmen and sent hundreds of Marines to Los Angeles. California Governor Gavin Newsom had sued, saying it went beyond the president's authority. Trump took a victory lap on Truth Social, saying in part, the judges obviously realized that Gavin Newsom is incompetent and ill-prepared. Democratic leaders in Los Angeles were disappointed by the ruling.
The court systems are not with us right now, but I still have a lot of hope that as we continue to appeal and move this process, that I think folks will recognize that this is what's happening in Los Angeles is the federal government trying to take away our city's sovereignty.
Newsom vowed to keep challenging the president's use of the guard, saying Trump was not a king. The issue, sparked by protests against ICE immigration enforcement in L.A. that led to some violence in the city, isn't going away. White House border czar Tom Homan said this week ICE raids on workplaces will continue, and Trump has already insisted that Democrat-run cities and states be targeted.
The message is clear enough that we're going to continue doing worksite enforcement operations, even on farms and hotels, but based on a prioritized basis. Criminals come first.
The Los Angeles Dodgers and the government are also at odds over what happened near the team's stadium Thursday, where protesters swarmed the area after hearing ICE agents were outside the team's facilities. The Dodgers posted they denied ICE access to the parking lots. Homeland Security maintained Customs and Border Patrol vehicles were in the stadium parking lot briefly, but it was unrelated to immigration enforcement. The incident shows just how tense the situation remains in the city and around the country. A Texas man is facing federal charges after allegedly trying to buy fireworks in New Mexico, where the DOJ says he told the seller he was trying to buy ones that could harm people and that he planned to use them on law enforcement during protests in Los Angeles. Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gelka for the National News Desk, America's News Now.
Florida's top law enforcement officer has suggested a new migrant detention center nestled deep in the Everglades and surrounded by predators.
The governor tasked state leaders to identify places for new temporary detention facilities. I think this is the best one. As I call it, Alligator Alcatraz.
Attorney General James Othmeyer pitched the idea on X, saying it would be located at a largely abandoned airport facility. He said alligators and pythons would prevent prisoners, up to 1,000 of them, from escaping. Insurance giant Aflac says it's been hacked. Officials say cyber criminals potentially stole Social Security numbers, insurance claims, and health information, but it's too early to tell. Aflac says it stopped the intrusion within hours. No ransomware was deployed, and the company is still serving its customers. Erie Insurance and Philadelphia Insurance Companies were also targeted recently. A man accused of trying to kidnap the mayor of Memphis, Tennessee, due in court today. 25-year-old, I should say, Trent Napston is in custody. Police saying he was on surveillance video climbing a wall and heading towards the mayor's home Sunday. Officers found a taser, gloves, rope, and duct tape in Napston's car. He's charged with attempted kidnapping, stalking, and aggravated criminal trespass. R&B singer Chris Brown pleads not guilty to an assault charge in London. The 36-year-old is accused of beating a man in a nightclub in 2023. He was arrested last month and later released. His trial will begin in October of next year and is expected to run between 5 and 7 days. Brown will appear in court next month to face additional counts. Coming up, where tens of millions of Americans are under heat alerts right now and how long the dangerous temperatures will last. Then, President Trump's big, beautiful bill is still far from getting through. The provisions Democratic senators plan to challenge in the next few days. And the serious health risk that many American women don't know is linked to birth control. We'll be right back. First day of summer, and right now over 50 million Americans are under heat alerts. A dangerous heat dome was forecast to begin today in central U.S. and spread to the Midwest and Northeast this weekend. Triple-digit temps and high humidity are likely next week in multiple states. Several eastern states are cleaning up damage from the severe storms. Officials across the D.C. area reported dozens of trees and power lines down last night, some crashing into homes and cars. In Maryland, trees on train tracks caused significant delays, and power lines set a truck on fire. First responders in Montgomery County said they responded to around 3 times as many calls as usual. Crews have also been cleaning up from severe flooding in upstate New York this week, as our team on the ground reports.
Drivers on Commerce Drive in Henrietta were met with floodwaters as they came and left for work.
It's nonstop, and I've lived in Rochester my whole life. I've never seen water collect this much in the middle of roads and stuff. So
one of several sites for Tony Ardillo, the owner of Gates Towing. His company has responded to countless calls since flash flooding on Wednesday.
Yeah, the phones haven't stopped, and most of the cars we have to winch out of the water, but some of them they made it through, but then the car died because the water got in the engine or the electronics.
The driver of this SUV wasn't so lucky as he left from work this morning. He didn't want to go on camera, but said the water was much lower when he came into work last night.
The road being closed is going to affect our business for a couple of days. We deliver bread, and we can't get back to the bakery that's landlocked back in the corner.
Henrietta Fire District says it responded to more than 100 calls Wednesday afternoon until midnight.
It went south very, very quickly, and calls started stacking up. Obviously, we had the water problems, flooded basements, flooded streets. We had multiple water rescues.
Senate Democrats plan to challenge dozens of health care provisions in President Trump's monster tax bill. That's likely to happen this Sunday when the Senate Finance Committee meets to discuss whether all the provisions meet the requirements for a reconciliation bill. To pass, it must contain only subjects dealing with the budget. There are also still problems on the Republican side.
Senators went home and told their constituents, oh, don't worry, this will change, that'll change. They said they were listening to their constituents. They lied. They lied.
I think it's good for the economy, but I can't vote to add $5 trillion. At the point Republicans vote unanimously or virtually unanimously for the debt ceiling, they own the debt.
House Speaker Mike Johnson wants a completed bill hammered out by July 4th and everything voted on passed and at Trump's desk in August. Americans are embracing Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s food agenda, but not him. That's according to a new Axios Ipsos poll showing 87% of Americans say the government should make food safer. 60% want to remove artificial dyes from food. And 70% want better food inspections. But less than a third say they actually trust health information from RFK. Two major airlines are pausing flights to the Middle East because of the regional conflict. United Airlines says daily flights from Newark Airport to Dubai are suspended. An American Airlines spokesperson told CBS that flights from Philadelphia to Qatar are paused through Sunday. It's unclear when the United Airlines route will resume. Delta Airlines is ranked the best airline for the 7th year in a row in a new report from travel expert The Points Guy. It looked at factors like reliability, loyalty programs, cost, and reach. Delta ranked highly in consistently being on time and having good customer service. United Airlines and Southwest Airlines were next on the list. Fees and bans on plastic bags in stores across the country appear to be working. A new study in the journal Science analyzed data on over 45,000 shoreline cleanups. 25 to 47% less plastic bag litter was found in communities with plastic bag policies than in those without them. The findings also suggest that there were fewer entangled animals. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering issues that matter to you. We're taking the pulse of America. And we begin in Oregon with outrage over a controversial drag performance.
Mixed emotions at the state capitol after a black drag performance on the House floor on Wednesday. All but 2 House Republicans either voting no or abstaining from a vote on a resolution honoring the history of black drag in Oregon. Republican Representative Dwayne Yunker said in an X post that the House floor is meant for serious debate, lawmaking, and serving all Oregonians, not partisan spectacles designed to push cultural agendas. Other Republicans also speaking out. House Minority Leader Christine Drazen said turning the House floor into a smoky bar is beneath the dignity of this body. Opening ceremonies are not the time or place for ostentatious displays of political symbols and social activism.
I've been a reservist for about 11 years now. Served on active duty before that as a Hornet pilot and as a forward air controller. And so, it's time to step up and keep our nation safe.
Commissioner Grant Moody, just one of the many U.S. reservists being activated. This all comes amid a rapid escalation of fighting between Israel and Iran. Now, President Donald Trump and U.S. lawmakers are weighing whether to get involved and waiting to see if the president orders U.S. forces to strike Iranian targets.
Either you want them to have a nuclear weapon or you don't. And if you don't, if diplomacy fails, you use force.
Local service members like Commissioner Grant Moody also left waiting to see how he will be called upon to serve.
Be there to keep our country safe, to defend our friends and allies like Israel, and to ensure that the world never has to deal with a nuclear Iran.
In northwest Baltimore, a narrow miss for one neighbor, a direct hit for another. Storm damage left behind as the wicked weather, heavy rains and fierce winds blew through.
When I came around the corner and I saw that tree down, I was like, oh my God, my car! I was like, my car!
Next door, a close call for Denise Countess. The fallen tree missed her Mini Cooper by inches.
There was nothing but the Lord looking out for me.
Road crews worked to remove a tree that was knocked down, blocked one lane. And in Perry Hall, a storm scare, sparking and burning.
Well, it was scary at first because of the blue flames, red flames, and all that. You could tell it was electrical for sure.
Coming up, women in other countries are warned about the health risks of a popular birth control. Why Americans are left in the dark. We're back in 90 seconds. Millions of women trust the safety of their birth control, never imagining it could lead to health conditions like a brain tumor. But cases across the country are multiplying, and despite a growing body of research, women in the U.S. remain in the dark, while users in other countries have been given clear warnings. We do want to notify you some of the images in this story are graphic and maybe disturbing to some viewers. Spotlight on America's Lisa Fletcher reports.
The night before Randy Hickman's brain surgery, she left letters for everyone in her family.
I didn't know what was going to happen. I wanted them to know how much I truly do love them.
It started with an emergency room visit to a Virginia hospital for dizzy spells and soaring blood pressure. Hours later, devastating news.
We're admitting you to the hospital. You have a brain tumor. And at this point, I'm like, oh my God, am I going to die today?
She endured life-altering brain surgery, leaving her with chronic pain, ocular seizures, and ringing in her ears.
I would have never thought that me taking something to prevent a pregnancy would cause me to have a brain tumor.
It wasn't until after her surgery that Randy pieced together what she believes caused it. Depo-Provera, an injectable birth control used by as many as 1/4 of American women. Emerging research, including a major French study, found a 555% increased risk of meningioma brain tumors with prolonged use. American and Canadian studies support this, with Canada's recent safety evaluation explicitly stating results warrant the need to alert women. Yet American women, unlike those in other countries, aren't getting that alert. We reviewed FDA adverse event reports for Depo-Provera in recent years. Meningioma reports skyrocketed from 2 in 2023 to more than 100 so far this year, all labeled serious.
Do you think we're just scratching the surface on the number of victims that there could be?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. There were thousands of women affected by this.
Attorney Ellen Relkin has spent decades handling medical drug cases and is suing Pfizer, Depo-Provera's maker, on behalf of women like Randy. She points out that other countries mandate clear warnings. Canada's label cautions meningiomas have been reported. And the EU updated guidance last fall, advising patients should be monitored for signs of meningioma.
And that's what's critical. If, I can't tell you how many of our clients have had, headaches and dizziness and visual problems, and the doctors don't get it.
In America, Depo-Provera's warning label makes no mention of brain tumor and no advice for monitoring. Pfizer claims it proposed label changes to the FDA last year, which the agency rejected.
It's the new tool book. Give a half-hearted, half-baked request to the FDA, hoping that it's denied because of its inadequacy.
Are you just suggesting that the language intentionally wasn't robust enough to get the FDA to approve it?
Yeah, I do believe it was not robust enough.
Relkin says Pfizer could have made changes without FDA approval. And as for the FDA,
if you just spend an hour doing a little medical research, which you can do via Google even, you would find the long-standing association between progesterone and meningioma. They were not as diligent and thorough as they should have been.
What do women deserve?
We deserve to know what we are putting in our body.
Pfizer did not respond to our request for comment, and the FDA told us it's aware that other nations warn women against the consequences of Depo-Provera. But the FDA did not answer our specific questions, only to say that they review drugs and take action as needed. We have filed Freedom of Information Act requests for more information, and we'll keep you posted. For Spotlight on America, I'm Lisa Fletcher.
Coming up, the ancient art that archaeologists just excavated and pieced together. We'll show you more right after this. Archaeologists have uncovered never-before-seen ancient Roman murals that were buried in fragments for 1,800 years. Experts from the Museum of London Archaeology excavated and put together the frescoes that used to cover about 20 walls in a luxury villa in Roman London. Museum officials said the process was the world's most difficult jigsaw puzzle. It's so fascinating to see it come together, though. That's going to do it for us for this edition of the National News Desk. We invite you to join us again this evening as we track the heat. We are going to show you as well where severe weather will hit first this weekend as suffocating conditions affect millions of people. I'm Dee Dee Gatton. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tonight at 10.